I have been in business for approximately 5 years, going on 6 years now. So, just to give you a little bit of background history about myself, I started my business basically just myself, and I had a couple friends helping me out with different aspects of the business, like for example, the accounting and all the administrative type stuff in the business. One of my friends helped me out with that because I'm a redneck. I'm a redneck truck driver. I'm not very smart when it comes to computer stuff. So, things like that. I had a couple friends helping me, but it was basically me running the whole show. And then after 2 years, I scaled my business up to 2 trucks, two excavators, a dozer, and then by the third year, I had 3 trucks, 2 excavators, and a dozer. And then I kind of downsized it again, and I'm basically upgrading machinery is what I'm in the process of doing, right? I had a whole bunch of, nice equipment, but slightly used, older, reliable machines, but on the older side. And so now I'm in the process of, slowly updating my fleet, right? And so I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I went about scaling my business up and what were some of the things that I had to adapt and learn about, and a couple things I had on my mind as I was growing my business, right? And as a business owner, at the end of the day, it really is up to you how big you want your business. If you have enough work, you can literally get loans for hundreds of thousands of dollars. If your business can show, the revenue, you can basically get almost unlimited amount of money. They print this stuff from the sky, guys. And so if you want to scale your business with somebody else's money, it is totally easy to do. A lot of people do it, and it's very risky, but a lot of people do it. And so when I decided that I wanted to kind of grow my business, I got to try and remember back, because this was like 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when I first bought my 2020 Peterbilt. In my head, I had my solo dump truck, I had the 2 excavators, the dozer, and I was pretty much working 24/7. Like, if I wasn't dump trucking, I had some sort of excavation project going on. Like, you can ask anybody that knew me at that time. Like, I was busy 24/7. If I wasn't dump trucking, I was doing somebody's driveway or clearing some land. I was doing something, right? And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm thinking longer term now. Like, because 2 years in, you're like, you still don't know if your business is even going to make it, really, right? So I was so surprised how well my business had done in 2 years. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life because I love it. I don't see myself doing anything else, right? I had worked for multiple businesses, as an employee, and I absolutely hated all the politics and bullcrap that went on in every single one of those companies. Like, there was only one company that I actually really enjoyed working for, and that was because I didn't have to deal with anybody, except for the regional manager, which was like once every couple of months. And then, one time he just out of the blue threatened me with my job, and I was like, yeah, done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. This guy goes from 0 to 100 real quick, like, that's not for me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business. So I started it. 2 years in, everything was going great, going amazing. And I at this point in my business, 2 years in, I could not see myself doing anything differently than running a business. So I'm like, okay, as a business owner, one of the things that you are always thinking about is, should I hire somebody to do what I'm doing? And there's a couple reasons. One, you get sick of doing things, right? Or number two, you want to make more money. Or three, you want to just get more work done and you want to affect more people, right? And it was kind of a combination of all three of those for me. Like when I was 2 years in, I was starting to see myself like cap out. Like I could see like, okay, if I work 24/7, this is my income stream. If I slack off a little bit, this is what I make. I could see where I was at. 2 years in, you know where you're at. But you still are growing. But at 2 years in, you pretty much know who your main customers are, and you're pretty steady by that point. Like at least I was. 2 years in, I knew who was calling me for work, and I knew what was going on. I knew the game plan at that point, and so I was like, okay, I want to make more money. Plus, this old truck is driving me nuts. It's hurt my back. I don't really want to drive this old truck anymore, right? I'm tired of working on the thing, getting greased up like a grease monkey. You know, it's time to hire somebody and see what it's like growing the business. And this is a whole new side of the business. So it's all new, right? As a business owner, a new business owner, you don't know what it's like having employees. You don't know, the ins and outs of having employees. You don't know all the legal stuff. You don't know how they're going to react to your leadership style, or your business mottos. And, you really start to learn a lot more about yourself when you start hiring people, right? Because you can learn what you can tolerate. You learn where your boundaries are. You also, you start to realize too, like, okay, what am I doing the business for now? Like, am I doing the business to fulfill my personal ambitions, or am I doing it to make money, or am I doing it for control over more people? Like, what is your purpose in running the business? If it's just to feed your family, if that's it, dude, just stay by yourself. You don't really need to hire anybody, right? Because you can make a very good living, just working just by yourself. Like if you work when there's work, and you're not taking off 24/7, you can make a really good living just by working for yourself, without having any employees, right? But I noticed real quick, and I'm not going to talk smack about any particular employee that I ever had. I enjoyed all of the employees I ever had. I really appreciate all the work they did for me, and I learned a lot of lessons from in my business history, I've had a total of 6 employees, I believe, right? So this opinion is based on new business owner. I've went through a total of 6 employees in basically 6 years. A lot of employees did not last very long. But I did have 2 employees that lasted for quite a while. And those of you that have watched the channel, you know who they are. They know who they are if they're still watching my videos. If not, that's cool with them. They don't have to watch my videos. But I had 2 employees that I really enjoyed having, and they stuck around for the longest amount of time, and they were pretty consistent. And I feel like, as a business owner, I kind of lost a little track of where I was headed. What my goals were. I kind of lost a little track of it because I got a little too much freedom, right? I kind of worked myself into a little too much freedom. And I'll get into more of that as I talk to you guys about scaling a business, okay? So, and you guys can you know, be in the chat and ask me questions. I got this on, my screen, so I can respond to comments and stuff like that too. So if you guys have any questions about scaling a business, or you want to ask me any questions, go ahead and feel free to do that while I'm telling my perspective on how it works and how I felt scaling my business. And so at first I had the idea that, like, my business is going to these amazing heights, and the sky's the limit. And if somebody wants to work for me, they're going to see my vision 100%. And that just ain't the case. That just is not the case. Like, trying to convince people to adopt your vision for what the business can be and what it is very difficult. You know, I and it's kind of tough being an employer and being a YouTuber, right? Because I want to tell you guys all the stories I have, but I don't want to throw anyone out and under the bus, and I don't want to get legal action taken against me for telling some of these stories. And so I'm going to speak in hypotheticals, okay? So I'm going to tell you about experiences that I experienced as an employee working for other companies that I could really relate to when I was working in my business. How about that? That way you guys can get to see the full story, but not about my particular employees that I ended up coming in contact with, right? So the first, one of the things I noticed when I had worked for multiple companies, like one of the companies in particular, when I worked for Big Rigs, there was like a probationary period. Like, we always talked among the other employees. We're like, okay, how long's this guy gonna last? Like, it was always a question, like, is he gonna make it a month, or is he gonna make it 2 months? Like, how long's he gonna last? Like, is he really on the Big Rig train? Like that, me and Brian we're like, okay, let's see if this guy can handle Aaron's leadership, or Aaron's style of running the business. And I experienced that when I first started. Like, how long is this person going to last, right? Because when you hire somebody, you are looking for somebody to drive your baby, right? Because when you're just scaling your business, you only have 1, maybe 2, 3, 4 pieces of equipment, right? So if they screw up your one piece of equipment, nobody eats. Like, that's got to get fixed. Priority number 1, right? So you are putting so much trust into your first employee, your second employee, third employee. Like, you are putting so much trust in them to not screw stuff up, right? So you want to just hire somebody immediately. Do not do that. That's one of the worst things you can do. Like, that was my number 1 mistake when I first started my business. I hired too quickly. I did not screen them enough. Like, I didn't interview enough people. Let me put it that way. I didn't interview enough people, and I wasn't, how do I put this? I don't think I incentivized the right person enough to get them to join my mission. Yeah, exactly, Blake. A bad employee will put you out of business faster than not paying your bills, right? Because all it takes is one of them guys to screw it up with your main customer, because they are you. If you are not on site and they are in your truck, they represent you. Whether you want to admit it or not, they represent you, and Yeah, you can fire them if they, epically fail, but who's to say you're going to be able to recover that business relationship? Once it's already screwed up, it might just be done with. You know, if you have a great relationship, then it's just going to be like, hey, bro, this guy's a quack, I hired the wrong guy. I got a new guy in. He's way better. We'll just keep going business as usual. But if you had just started out with that company and you were trying to make a name, trying to leave an imprint on that company, like, yeah, VANDUYN's, man, those guys are they're on the right track, man. They know what's what. You have to have the right employee that presents that same image that you want portrayed, right? And so the first thing is, when you scale your business, you've got to vet the people you hire. And so one little trick to this is, people will always tell on themselves. They will always tell on themselves. They always put the best foot forward. But if you listen to somebody long enough, they will tell you some screwed up stuff. They will tell you some screwed up stuff. I guarantee you. Like, if you listen to somebody long enough and you're actually listening to what they're saying, they will say some sketchy stuff. Like, not everybody, but a lot of people. They will say some messed up things. Like, what? Like, what? Like, you'll do a double look in your head. You'll be like, what the heck did he just say? Like, he thought that was okay? Or one of the big things is, a lot of crummy employees will always talk bad about their past managers. Like, and I'm not saying all, but I'm saying a lot of them will, like, it's okay to have one or two bad experiences with past bosses and past, like, employers. But if every single one is horrible and did you wrong and this and that and this and the other, chances are the common denominator is not the bosses, it's you. So that's just one of the things you're gonna learn to read people. Once you start to hire people, you will learn to read people. And it's to be overcritical. Like, because they're putting their best foot forward. So if they say something that sounds questionable, and like if out of everything they said, only 10% was questionable, then it's probably more like 30% of what they do is questionable. Like, because, like, you just have to over anticipate the amount of craziness they are. Like, because here's why. If you don't over anticipate and you pick somebody up, they show a couple red flags, 5 months down the road, those 2 red flags that they showed you is now 6 red flags that now you're seeing, and now you're like, oh crap, now I gotta try and document. This happened multiple times when I was at multiple companies. They're like, okay, how are we gonna try and document this guy's complete and utter incompetence so we can fire him, right? Or how can we make his life so uncomfortable that he quits? Like, you don't want to fire somebody. You want them to quit, ultimately. Like, if somebody's not good for your business, you don't want to fire them, because then they go on unemployment and then it costs you money. So you want to make it uncomfortable for them so they quit, right? But you can't say that in real life. You can't say, hey, man, I'm going to make your life hell so you quit. You can't say that, because you'll get sued somehow, right? But this is what's going through every business owner's head, right? What I'm telling you, it's not top secret. Everybody knows it. They just don't want to say it, right? It's like a taboo thing. So, as a business owner, you have to be a fair employer, right? And, you have to treat everybody equally. But how do you get rid of somebody that isn't good for your business? That's a good question right there. In Washington, it's very, 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 you got to tiptoe around those issues, man, because they can bite you in the butt so fast, like seriously. And I had one of my, he was a buddy at the time. He's not so much a buddy anymore, but I did a video and I was talking slightly about one of my employees, and he's like, hey man, I don't think you should put that on YouTube because he can come back and possibly sue you for saying something like that. I'm like, well, it's the truth. And he's like, yeah, but dude, they can sue you for no reason. Like, this is America. People are sue happy over anything. And so, in the last video, somebody mentioned to me, where's JST been? Where's Justin been? And I heard through the grapevine that somebody is trying to take him to court on something. That was right around December time. So I don't know what happened, but I just heard through the grapevine that Justin is going to court over something, And I don't know what it's about, but that's what I just heard. So just a little piece of that right there. But maybe we'll see Justin back on the YouTube community, soon enough. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you got to be careful, man. You got to treat all your employees fair. And I feel like I've treated every single one of my employees with the utmost respect. And I feel like I have done more for my employees. I felt like they were family to me. Like, honest to God, like if one of my employees needed something and they came to me, I would have treated them like family. Like, I would have took care of them, And I'll never forget, Brandon was like, hey, bro, the flood warning in Chehalis is coming up, and my house might get flooded. I'm like, dude, you take the dump truck and go get sand, dude. Whatever you do, go take care of your house now, dude. Take the dump truck with you if you need to. I don't care. Like, that's just the type of employer I was when I had employees, right? And I felt like my employees would stick up for me even when I wasn't there if people were talking crap in the pit, because I always went the extra mile as an employer for my employees. I felt like I kept my word. Like, if I told them something, like I said, hey man, I'm gonna start you out at $25 an hour, and then after the first 90 days, if we're good and we're golden, then you're up to 30. I don't screw around, man. I'm not gonna do the 50 cent here, 50 cent there, bull crap that every other company does. This is what it is. Take it or leave it. And they did it, and I fulfilled my word, and I think that goes a long ways. And that is another thing I want to touch on, Blake. That is another thing that you gotta have in your head, and one thing that I had in my head constantly as an employer. A lot of people will take advantage of your kindness. They will take advantage of how nice you are, of all the benefits you give. They will, like, if you give them an inch, they'll go a mile sometimes. Like, and depending on your employee, like, it's, so when you're scaling your business, if you permit, if you don't have strong boundaries, like, for example, this never happened to me and my employees, I don't think, but at companies I worked for, there was always a guy who showed up 5 minutes late. Everybody knew he was going to show up late. And the boss was just like, what the heck, man? He's always showing up late. And he never did anything about it. So the guy just kept showing up late. And everybody else would have to pick up the slack because he was showing up late. It's, so as a business owner, you have to have very strict boundaries when you're scaling your business. You have to, if you don't, let me put it this way, they're not mind readers, right? If you don't communicate your boundaries when you're scaling your business, because you're a new business, they're employees to a new business, they don't know the process of growing a business. And they assume that you know everything about running a business. They assume that you know all the laws. They assume that you know everything, which you don't know jack, right? Like when I first hired my first employee, I didn't know how to fire somebody. I didn't know, I didn't know about like L&I. I didn't know about workers' compensation laws. Like this is all stuff. Like you got two options. You can either read law books for like 20 years and still not know all the laws, or you can wing it and learn as you go. And you're going to take a couple hits here and there, and you just got to roll with the punches, right? And that's how every business pretty much works out. Like nobody ever just sits down and reads law books for 20 years and says, oh, okay, well, you can't do this with employees and you can't do that with employees and this is okay and this isn't and blah, blah, blah. You have to go off of what's in your head and what makes common sense, right? And so that is the way that works, right? So, when you're scaling your business, you're not going to know everything, right? So you just got to go off your gut. And here's the thing that I would recommend too. Like if you are just now hiring somebody and you never hired anybody, always, and this sucks. This really does suck as a business owner, but you always got to give somebody the benefit of the doubt until there's actual proof. Like until there's actual solid proof of something happening, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. You have to just kind of trust them, which sucks because, I grew up trust but verify, which basically means you don't trust anything until you've seen it with your own eyes, like, so you basically have to just go off of what they say until you find out, and when you're scaling your business, you're going to get an employee that does a no-call, no-show, and it's going to put you in a really crappy position, with your customer. And, you're going to have to fill in for that. That was one of the kind of the struggles when I started scaling my business was I personally was probably a little too lenient and a little too flexible on what I allowed the employees to create their own schedule just about. Like there are laws, right? You have to give them a certain amount of days off, certain amount of, you can take off work for this or that or whatever, and you're just supposed to just make it happen as an employer, right? So you basically, automatically have to put your plans second. If something comes up and there's a no call, no show, or somebody's sick, guess who's covering? Because if you don't cover, then guess what happens? Your customer ain't getting their whatever they need, and they're calling somebody else for it. So you kind of got to put your plan second to pick up the slack, or you got to be willing to tell your customer, sorry, man, driver called in sick today or this or that, Yeah, hey, thanks for watching, Wally. Don't forget to hit that like button for all you guys that are watching and that will watch this. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And these are things to think about, right? These are things that have gone through my head and are kind of swirling around up there as I'm talking to you guys about when I was scaling my business. Right? And so another thing that is kind of tricky when you're scaling your business especially if you start your business at a younger age, right? I was 27 when I started. I was like 30 by the time I had my first employee, right? And my first employee was my age. Second employee was like a couple months older than me. Third one, way older than me, right? When you hire somebody that's older than you, they have what you call the parenting syndrome. I don't know how else to explain it, but a lot of times, they think they know better than you. And it's not to say that they don't, but sometimes they think their ideas are better than yours. And like, it's tough to try and explain to them, maybe your idea sounds better to you, but this is my business, my name's on the door, and at the end of the day, I say what goes. And if you don't like it, hit the door. Like, that's one of the toughest things to kind of explain to somebody. And in the interview process, I always mentioned it to them. I'm like, hey man, you don't have a problem with taking orders for somebody that's younger than you, right? Like, if I give you an objective, you're not going to try and argue with me about it because you think you know better than me. Like, at the end of the day, my name's the name on the door. Like, I want you to make good decisions, but at the end of the day, if it's something that is like business level, like an important decision, I need to be the one to make the end decision because it's my business, my name's on the door, right? I trust you to make good decisions, but if it's something that's big, you better call me, because at the end of the day, right, if you have a responsibility, right, then you get authority. That's the way it works. If you have authority, it comes with responsibility. So if the business stops making money and my employees don't have work, that's my fault, right? If I don't have work, that's my fault. To a certain degree, I have to take responsibility for that. And that's another thing that is a lot of business owners don't really think about enough as they start to scale their business. You literally have to be 100%. You have to think everything is on you, because realistically, when you hire somebody, you are extending your family. Like that, you have to think about it like that. Like, if they're not working 40 hours a week, they're not making enough money, it's my fault, because I'm not providing the work for them to make the money. I'm not hustling hard enough for them. Yes, it does. It takes a total different energy. Like, you literally have to go from like beast mode to extra beast mode, And so it's exciting, right? And a lot of times, and this is one thing that I noticed when I worked for Love's, right? One of the managers said drivers are their own worst enemies. And I never really understood that until I became an owner. And basically what that means is, sometimes if you pay somebody too much, then they won't work hard for you, because they can get by off of doing less. Like, and this was me personally too. I did go through this little I went through this phase, and everybody's gone through this phase of, I don't need to do that extra load because I've already made my hours for the day. I don't need to go for that greedy load, right? And so that has happened, right? And so, at the end of the day, you got to try and convince them to go the extra load even when they don't want to. And drivers are their own worst enemies. Like they will stop, uh you know, they'll stop working so that they can, go home early because they think they made enough for the day, you know. And you just got to kind of, tell them, dude, we gotta keep these trucks rolling, like, because those bills don't pay themselves, right? Like, you only get so many hours in a day to make money, right? And so that extra load will pay for the fuel for the day. Or, you know, like, you never know. Like, there's been so many jobs where I thought I bid it out perfect, and then something else happened, and then the profit was gone. So you got to be willing, you know, and so what I'm trying to say is, you got to find, and this is tricky, you got to find the point where the employee is still hungry, right? And that's where you got to pay them. Because if they're not hungry, they're not going to do the extra work to make you the extra money to make sure your business is being profitable, right? So that's one of the things that is very tough as a business owner, because you want to help them, you want to compensate them so well, right? But at the same time, they're their own worst enemy. Like, I don't know how to put it. Like, you'll be like, hey bro, you want to haul that extra load? Oh no, I'm good, man. I already did my 40 hours. It's like, 40 hours, that barely pays the truck payment, bro. Like I didn't hire you just so you could run my equipment and just pay for it, and I'm not making anything. I'm just breaking even. Like, that's not what this is. Like, I hired you so I could make more money, so I could grow the business, so my future can be better in the long run, and your future can be better in the long run. But if you just do the bare minimum, we're not growing. We're literally staying the same. If not, we're shrinking, right? And that's a tricky thing to try and convey to an employee. Like, hey, man, I want to pay you top dollar, but as soon as I start trying to pay you top dollar, then you stop working. Like, and that happened a lot of times. Like, I noticed that a lot of times in a lot of companies that I worked for, other employees, they were making the top dollar, and a lot of them were the laziest MFers out there. Like, seriously, they had the easiest gig. They had the easiest stuff. Like, when I was in roofing, the guys that made the most money were the crane operators. They literally were like, eek, eek, eek. Okay, yep, put the forks in there. Got it. Oh, let me lift that up. All right, see if you can unload it there. I don't think I want to move it any further, Okay, maybe a little bit, Those guys were making $30 an hour, while, the guys that were working their tails off, stacking the bundles, throwing the bundles, going up and down the roof, taking the bundles off the conveyor and loading them on the roof, those guys were making half what they were making, right? And so physically, they were working so much harder physically, right? And making less money. But the guys that were, had the easy job, they didn't want to work because they were already making so much money. They're like, I don't need to work. Let somebody else do it because I've already made what I need. And so they get in the mentality of, I just do what I need and that's it. They don't think about the business owner and his goals and his dreams. It kind of gets overlooked a lot of times. So you got to find the employee that is, gonna say, gonna appreciate what you're paying them and try and go the extra mile, even though, it doesn't really, it's more than what he needs. He's just gonna try and go the extra mile because he wants to help your mission out. And it's tough finding that guy, man. Like, you're probably never going to find them. Like, I don't even know if they exist. Like, I felt like a couple of my employees maybe had it in them a little bit, but it's hard to say, you know, like, because I can't read their mind, you know, so it's just like you end up judging people on what they perform, you know, and everybody's going to judge somebody differently. And so when you scale your business, that's going to be one of the things that you're going to fight with in yourself. If you're a good person, it's going to be tough to say, well, we got to make money. So maybe if we pay him a little more or pay him a little less, he's going to work more hours, which makes the business more money. And in turn, the business gets its goals fulfilled. And as a byproduct, you know, he works a little bit more hours to make his money, but he still gets what he needs. I get what I need. If you pay him too much, then he's just going to get what he needs, and then you might not get what you need. You know, you got to kind of try and make that, it's hard to convey that to them, you know. It's like, hey, man, I'm paying you, you know, more than what the other companies are paying you because I expect you to work a little more hours, you know, because I need you to work that for it to be worth it for me. We got to keep those customers happy. And one of the things I always tried to stress was, hey, man, we got to get this done for that customer. It wasn't, I never tried to portray the message as, I need you to do it for me because I'm greedy. I always tried to portray it as, the customer needs it done, so we got to get it done. Either you do it or I do it. That was what I always told them. Like, hey, bro, they need that pea gravel, so either you do it or I swap you out. I'll drive out there and hop in the truck and do that load of pea gravel. Like, it's got to get done. Like, you know, and you have to portray it as that, even though it's like, yes, we want to make the customer happy, but at the end of the day, we got to make money. That's why we're in business. So that's one of the things, you know. And then another thing, when you scale your business, you have got to watch out for two-faced people. Like, there are some people in your business, like if you hire the wrong person, they have this two-face where they're smiling to your face and then, you know, they are negative about everything. And that spreads in a business. Like, especially the environment, man, it can become toxic at the drop of a pin, you know. And I kind of feel like that might have happened in my business, you know, just a teeny bit. Like, I don't know for a fact that people were talking smack behind my back, but both my last employees left pretty close to each other, you know, and I just kind of feel like maybe there might have been a little resentment against me because I had taken so much time off of the business. You know, I went out fishing almost every weekend, and I kind of was just like, yeah, I dispatched them, you know, my work's done. But they seen me having too much fun, and they got jealous. Like, that does happen. Like, you know, when I worked for Big Rigs, I'm out there doing the K Falls run every single day. Can't see my family for, you know, only 2 days a week or a day and a half every single week, right? And we're out there busting our balls, and then we're making $20 an hour while all the other companies in the fuel industry are paying $10 more an hour than what we were getting paid. Our trucks were nicer, but we were getting paid $10 less an hour. And then every single year, these MFers are buying a new truck every single year, a brand new truck, and they're paying cash for it. Like, what the hell? Like, okay, yeah, I see your goals getting fulfilled, but mine are not. So, like, employees get jealous real quick. Like, if you start getting flashy or you start telling them about your life, dude, they will dude, they get jealous immediately. And this is one of the things that Justin was trying to tell me. I didn't really get the message though. Like, he was on to something when he was trying to tell me this. And I'm a man, so I'm gonna admit this. You know, as an employer, you cannot tell, like, you just can't. It's just not a good business practice to tell your employees how your life is going, what's going on in your life, because they get jealous. Yeah. And, you know, if they see you living the life, dude, it's over, game over. They're going to start hating on you for it, man. And a lot of them, you know, some of them, and this is the good person in me, I want them to see all the suffering I went through and appreciate the suffering I went through and see, man, look where he came from and look what he did. He did this. He deserves it. But they will never think that way. Like, I have, like, they may say it to your face, but at the same time, they may say it like, oh yeah, Brian, you did all this, look where you came from. But at the same time, they will get jealous. Like, this mother, he just took 3 months and went fishing for 3 months straight. Like, I could feel a little bit of tension. Like, dude, how come you ain't out trucking with us? How come that solo truck ain't working? Like, what the heck? Like, and you know, it's human nature, right? It literally is part of human nature. So when you're scaling your business, you know, Justin was on to something when he said, you know, don't park the trucks at your place because then they're going to know too much about your personal life. And he's on to something, you know. Like, the nice thing about parking it at my place is, you know, I don't have to pay anybody to park it at my place. But at the same side, there's a downside to that, and that's they see everything about your life. So if your life looks too glamorous, they're going to start hating on you for it. Because they, you know, people cannot be happy for other people for their hard work and their accomplishments. Like most people literally can't. Like, a couple members of your family might be able to be happy for you. Like, for example, my grandfather is genuinely happy for my success. But a lot of my other family members are not happy about my success. They won't come out and say it to your face that they're like, what the heck? How can Brian do this and I'm stuck doing this? They're not going to say it to your face, but you will notice it. Like, if you have any type of perception at all, you will see it. Guaranteed. And, you know, and the saying goes, people don't hate up. Or no, people don't hate down. They hate up. Right? Jealousy, you know, goes to hating up. Right? So if somebody thinks that you are doing better than them, they're going to hate on you for it, man. Because a lot of people just cannot be genuinely happy for your success. It's crazy. Like, and let me rephrase that. Maybe they can be happy for you, but it's not going to last long. If they are happy for you, it will not last long because the jealousy will creep in. It's just human tendencies. So, just something to think about. Anyways, guys, I'm at Walmart. I got to go get some stuff. I'm gonna go razor clamming tomorrow on my weekend with some buddies. So, got to go make sure I got my clamming license all squared away. So, I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. I hit the gym today. I got my gym bag. Hope you guys are getting straight and, you know, getting all yourselves into check, you know, and taking care of yourselves. And I'll catch you guys